2025.
Cheers to 2025. Welcome to the show. You are watching A Man's Journey. I'm Christopher Valona.
I'm Secondhand Steve.
We just say this is the first show of 2025. Cheers.
It should be a good one.
I feel a lot better. As you can see, I got a nice haircut. Got cleaned up for you. I'm in my PJs tonight because it's nice and chilly here. A lot of winds in Los Angeles.
Wind's coming in.
Los Angeles, California. Put in the chat where you're from, would you? We just want some engagement. Somebody to tell us hi.
Well, feel forced.
Yeah. We're not gonna put a gun to your head. No. All right. So we weren't here. Well, we were here last week.
We were. That's right.
We were here last week.
Just shiny last week.
It was
maybe
awesome.
a little too.
Oh my God. Still got no offers. It's okay. Well, that's all right. We're just gonna good vibes only. How was your week, Steve? I haven't talked to you in a while.
It's been a busy week.
Yeah.
Taking care of business, doing what needs to be done. And just so you understand what I mean by that is my whole world is just what's in front of me. Just immediately what's in, like right now, the most important thing I'm doing is this. Because this is what I'm doing. And then when I leave here, that's the most important thing.
I see.
Otherwise, I put too much on my plate, nothing gets done. So I break it up into small bites, small digestible bites.
All right.
That's how I live this life.
That's just a lot to digest, even the small bites.
Can be.
Yeah, I've been in like full new 2025 mode. Like you're trying to organize stuff and like trying to get lists done. I mean,
well, yeah, you do so much for
I got a new calendar. I'm ready. I was cleaning all weekend and I was organizing and finally put away Christmas today. As you can see, I'm still unorganized. It's just everywhere. That's okay. At least I cleaned off your space for you, Steve.
That's all that matters. Again, my world, perfect.
So I really didn't do much. I didn't get much sleep.
Well, as a father of a child with a rare disease,
yeah,
that option flew the coop a while ago, didn't it?
Oh man, probably since 2006 or 7, I haven't had a good night's sleep.
So if you're listening and you've got a good night's sleep last night, cherish that. It's like I heard someone say once, what I would give to be able to take a breath without pain. And I never thought of that ever. And to be able to just breathe without even thinking about it, because it's, easy to do. It's easy to take for granted. So many things in life.
I see.
2025, let's not take anything for granted. And let's
practice a little humility.
Enjoy it all.
A little gratitude.
Yeah. Let's start looking at maybe some old things, looking at them newly.
Ooh.
Is newly a word?
Newer?
Newest? Newerest? Remember the Chunky commercial? Chunky's Thickerer?
Talking about the square chocolate bar?
Yeah, that's gotta be a Gen X to.
I loved the chunky, man. I didn't like the nuts at the time.
You like them big? You like them chunky?
Chunky and the better. Yeah, get a big more mouthful. All right, so tonight's topic
is the role.
Oh God, where is it?
The role of male caregiving in today's environment. Am I close?
No, close. Let me go to my my stats here. It is the role of male caregivers. How to understand their unique challenges and responsibilities.
Because up until pretty recently, male caregivers didn't really exist unless it was forced upon a family member that they had no choice. But traditionally, the role of caregiving has always been for the ladies. And in the world we live in today, that's just...
Well, that's because the men were making the money.
Well, the whole system and dynamic was different. So, yeah.
Well, men were making the money. Women stayed primarily at home and took care of the children.
Right.
And
when the parents got old, same thing. You moved them in, and then you took care of them, and you became their caretaker.
Yes. The cycle continues.
Right.
Yes. So,
But now...
I'm Gen X. You're Gen X.
Right. We're both Gen X.
We were born in the 60s. So
65,
69. So that whole thing about, men going to work and women staying at home, that was just coming to the end. Actually, I think that like 70s had kind of like stopped all that. Women were allowed to vote, they were allowed to earn a wage. They basically got their power. I don't know why they never got it to begin with, but that's a whole nother show. But and so then that dual income with children started, right? Two incomes to raise children. And you had babysitters, those were fun. And then you had nannies for the wealthy. And then you had the caregivers. I think that's how it went. I mean, that's pretty spot on, I think.
It was my father's side of the family was very large, and the caregiver would always be the firstborn daughter. That would be the one that stayed home, usually didn't marry. It was I look back now and it kind of seems ridiculous, but it was like almost roles were assigned back then of who's gonna take care of who.
Are you talking about back then, the societal norms?
Back then, the 50s, 60s.
What was expected of you?
Yes.
That's different today, isn't it?
It, like I was telling Chris earlier, we were born into a whole different world than the young people have today. Different rules, different system, different way to look at things,
Oh my
different
God.
dynamic, different everything. Even now, the language,
Yeah,
we didn't watch videos, we wouldn't be able to keep up.
yeah. If you could have been a fly on the wall in today's conversation with my 19-year-old, that was amazing. Yeah, that is true. All these different languages, but it's not really a different language, is it? They just took the traditional American Webster language and then they shortened it and made it their own like little,
And we did that too. Okay, remember
Mm.
your yearbook when you were a senior?
Yeah.
And people would sign it.
Yeah.
So back when it was my turn in '83, have a bitch in summer was like one of the things to write.
Okay.
Now it's ridiculous and just seems, so
What that sounds ridiculous today.
they don't use the word bitching today.
I use the word bitching.
That's because you're old. Thank you. And we tell ourselves by our language.
I wonder what these kids would say if I said, hey man, have a bitching day. What would they say? I mean, we're talking like the 12, 13, 14-year-olds.
They wouldn't get it.
Yeah.
They wouldn't get it. And again, that every generation has their own lingo. And I think it's a safety thing. It's a human thing.
Well, I don't know.
So they know their tribe. They know that their generation sounds different, looks at things different,
Yeah.
just like ours does.
Well,
You have the boomers who looked at things different, and then Gen X who looks at things different, and everything else that comes after that. Has a whole different, same world, but different ways to look at it.
all right. Well, my way is the best way. At least it's the most comfortable way because that's all I've known. Raising a child in today's climate, it's a little bit difficult because there's a lot other societal new norms.
We have to adjust to them, not
Yeah.
the other way around.
Yeah.
It's otherwise you're gonna get into a fight you'll never win.
Yeah. Well, I won one today. I think.
Did you?
I think.
We'll talk about that later.
So
But as long as you think you won, there you go.
So I got a hug and he cried. So, I'm like, success. Dad. So the societal norms of the shift, you're saying that, do you think that shift happened for male caregiving in the last 10 years
It
or longer?
I think longer.
Because there are male nurses now.
Yes, and again, when I was growing up and you were growing up, you didn't see too many male nurses at all.
No, that just wasn't what male category was, nursing.
Right.
We used to tease the males as a nurse. Oh, you're a nurse? We used to tease them, right? Yeah, I did. I'm sorry.
Wait, you can't lump me in on those,
Steve.
I never made fun of anyone. I'm a damn decent human being. No, it was what he's talking about was the norm, and we did. And when we saw a man walking with a white jacket, we assumed he was the doctor.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember I was kind of, a little bit of shock. It's like, I'm the nurse, because I'd never seen that before. But now it's the norm. Now it's
Or the white coats pushing the person in the wheelchair. That person in the wheelchair must be mental. He must be unstable, right? Or yeah.
Again, but how we looked at things was different because of how we were raised.
Yeah.
And now it's just much more inclusive.
I wouldn't say how much it is that we were raised that way. It's what we saw. wasn't like your parents were sitting you down and saying,
Roles
"Oh,
were very defined.
yeah," but when we saw that at mental institutions, who went to a mental institution
I mean, checked in or visiting?
visiting?
Visiting.
All right.
The Thorazine shuffle.
Damn. That's what we saw. That's what I saw. I saw on the grounds there, people who were in wheelchairs, but they were strapped, but they were getting fresh air.
Well, it was the men with the butterfly nets are going to come take you away.
Yeah, I never saw that. That's like in movies and like cartoons.
Or Dr. Demento songs. But yeah, that a white van would come to your house. These people would jump out,
Yeah,
put you in a straitjacket, and that was the last anyone saw you.
drug you up and then throw you in the van.
You were given a room with a no
Right.
doorknob on your side, and there you go.
Right, right. So in today's market, let's say the last 20 years, there's been a boom in male nursing.
Yes.
There's been a boom in male caregiving. And then there's been a boom in male LVNs and, you know, doctors, obviously. But women are starting to really take a percentage away from the doctors. There are more women doctors than there were than any time in
Good.
history, which is great. But so this stigma, right? The stigma that we like try to evolve into or try to run from. That's kind of like the push-pull, you know, gender equality conversation that's pretty much happening right now.
Where there used to be lines, it seems like there's no line anymore. There's not even a
Right.
mark where the line was.
I honestly got to say that when I say I'm a male caregiver, people kind of pause and they kind of look at me funny, like, kind of, what does that mean?
I had someone recently, I said that. I was at the bank opening an account.
Mhm.
And she asked me what I did for a living. I said, I'm a caregiver. And she says, thank you for your service. And here's someone, just from that answer, you know, she has someone either special needs or sickly at home or was raised with someone like that.
Yeah.
It's someone who understands. And usually they understand from direct experience, not, you know, from watching videos on YouTube. But, and you can tell. But for the people who don't understand or have never had a life that involved someone who needed caretaking, yeah, they would look at it as kind of like, really?
Yeah. Well, I think that, you know, as things are aging, as your family is aging, like if you were born in the 60s, that means your parents were born in the 30s or 40s.
Yes.
So your entire family unit is aging out into either retirement homes, in-home care, or even the cemetery, right? So that whole thing that we had to, I think, show up, we had to create because the need was so great. And that's still currently today, right? My parents, well, Chuck's deceased. How you doing, Chuck?
His father. And that's his picture on the wall.
Yeah, you can't see that, but I'll bring him over here in a minute.
Chuck was a good man.
And my mom is 82. So, and she lives with my oldest brother full time, and he is now a male caregiver. Not probably not something he thought he would do, but he.
No one stands in line on career day in school and says, I want to be a caregiver.
Yeah. You're either forced into it or you're like forced into it, but willingly, you know, it's like, are you going to take care of your parents? Can you take care of your parents? Are you able to take care of your parents? And you have to go through that again, that stigma, that responsibility. Your life is going to change. And then there's that whole, like, I'm just afraid. I have a lot of fear, right? So if we have a lot of fear, we tend not to jump in right away and say, yeah, I'll take care of it. And I have no life now.
I've talked to people that if they had to be caregivers, they would resent it to no end.
Yeah.
And then there's, like with me, my whole crazy life prepared me for caregiving. I look back now and I realize that everything was preparation for caregiving. And something about me needs to be of service to people. So this fits in beautifully. Something in me needs to continue to evolve and grow and be empathetic and understanding. And caregiving for me is where I found my niche or my niche, depending on what part of the zip codes you live in. Is that a too big of a word for you?
What? Well, you know, this is your, what, is this your second appointment?
Yeah.
This is your second appointment?
He's my second client.
Second client. So you have a pretty good track record. Your first client was how many years?
7 years.
7 years for the first client. And now we're on almost year one with secondhand Steve. So I, on the other hand, I've had one client. I've had one client for 21 years. Probably 15 of those were in this category.
I believe you was relations.
What's that?
It's your son.
Yeah, it's my son. But I was also a special educational aide for 2 different school districts for a few years. Because that to me, it wasn't a big deal. Like I would go into the rooms and I help these kids learn and deal with either emotionally disturbed children, autistic children, or blind children or epileptic children, because while everybody was afraid, I was already doing it. And it was a great way to make a little bit of money on the side while, my children at that time I was divorced, they were with the mother. So
So your crazy life prepared you for that.
yeah, I mean, I never thought that this would be my lot in life.
Situations, circumstances, life just going, watch
It's
this.
changed.
You got plans, you're heading this direction. Watch what happens now.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, you're a caregiver.
Are you a man of God?
Yes.
So there's this saying is that we make plans and God just smiles or laughs, depending on how cruel the joke
Probably
is.
both. But it seems like also that that's exactly what we need in that moment to better our lives.
Do you think, Steve, that men are more compassionate in 2025 than they've ever been? Do you think they have the ability to express empathy and patience?
I think the younger people most definitely are. I think they came into this world a little more open than we did. Whether we, I don't know, we came in one way, but with our upbringing, they produced what they wanted was this idea of what a man's supposed to be. And
Yeah.
now we look at the young people today, and it gives me hope. They seem to be a lot more compassionate, empathetic. They seem to be a lot more open-minded, and they seem to be a lot more
Well, let's not stretch it.
no, willing to change the current structure, which is
Sorry,
not working.
I have my own experience. I have a little resentment. So, yeah. Anyway, well, that's a decent answer. I would tend to agree with you. Tend to do that. Okay, so moving on. So we can recognize that the male caregiving role has really exploded in the last 20 years. It's not just about moms, although moms definitely still dominate this spot. They dominate it in charitables, foundations, groups, clubs, and I don't know. It's because they have all this time because their husbands are working, but a lot of these ladies are single and they work and they still do these support groups and stuff like that. So
Pretty amazing.
it is. It's a lot, and you're dealing with your person or your adult, which needs a lot of care, and that comes with a whole other bag of emotions, which is just it's really really challenging. So I applaud both sexes for stepping in and
Just
doing
caregivers in general.
yeah, that's just amazing. A lot of dads out there don't get the recognition. I see you dads. Dad, you're a dad.
I'll tell you an experience I had with a dad that blew me. I cried. So it was the Special Olympics up at the high school,
Sure.
and this one father brought his daughter out, and it was for a run, and she was partially blind or mostly blind, very disabled. You could tell just physically by looking at her. And he was cheering her on like no one's business, rooting for his daughter. And I thought it was the most moving thing in the world when the race ended. What place she came in, who cares? And then the next race started. And that girl had a sister, and they were twins.
Yeah.
And the twin was even worse, the second one. And there was dad with the same enthusiasm, the same. I mean, it was the most moving, touching thing I've ever seen. And if you're in line at the market and this guy's behind you, you wouldn't even notice him. Just a regular guy, going about his day. But when you see how people step up to the plate because of their situation, because of the hand they've been dealt in life, and how some of them handled it is brilliant. Absolutely. I still learn and try to find that wherever I go. They're out there, and you're out there, and you can be that. And if you aim yourself in that direction.
Do you find that, are you judging these men because of the category that they're been put into? I mean,
I'm applauding how are playing the hand they were dealt, because you can also be, absolutely resentful of it. You can abandon the kids. There's so many options that a parent can do to dismiss what's going on in their life. But the ones who own it, the ones who accept it, those those impress me.
But I have to say, a lot of people aren't ready to accept that whole male caregiving role, right? That's mostly a feminine role. Do you think that people are in your experience, do you find that men are being isolated because they're being judged by their peers for being, I don't know, not manly, you know?
Maybe, and hopefully it's just very isolated and not the norm, but we're caregiver because there's a calling, there's a need, there's things that need to be done. And if we're in a position to do that, then we give it the best shot we can. But I'm sure it's caregivers that it's just a stepping stone to something else. Maybe they're going for a degree, maybe they're whatever it is, I don't know. But the experience a person can gain from this is life-changing. And how do you put a price on that?
What male caregiving is the price to be learning on what?
Wow.
Life-changing. Life-changing. Well, it certainly changed my life.
It can be. It depends your level of acceptance with what's in front of you in your situation.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
And so that'll actually override the, if you got some people in your life that are making fun of you because you're a male caregiver, you might need new people. I don't know if I would personally, I don't have anyone like that in my life.
It teases you because you take care of a dying kid.
I got friends that tease me just because that's our relationship. That's how we have fun. We poke jabs like brothers, just we hit each other and say all kinds of rude comments. That's just the norm. But to have someone actually look down upon you because you're a male caregiver, I don't know if I got room for anyone like that in my life.
Yeah, I got to just interject here.
Okay.
So I've done a lot of jobs. I've done construction. I've done sales. I've done overseas sales. I have done everything that you could possibly do physically. Well, not everything, wasn't, on an oil rig, but you know what I mean? I did a lot of stuff physically. I was also in the acting world briefly, in the production world. I was in the mailroom at CBS. I've run several companies that I failed at. I would have to say that this by far is one of the most demanding, most physically draining,
yes,
and the most emotional jobs I've ever had, because I can't quit. Right? Every other job I can quit because I can just leave that alone. It's not for me, or it didn't work out, or I got fired. This I can't. No, because that's my son, right? And I wonder how many other dads out there that can relate to you. And during this whole time when I was making this transition into what does the future look like? There was a time limit. Your son will be dead at 11. Your son won't make it into his teens. He won't see 20. And so I was like,
they didn't give you no light at the end of the tunnel.
Well, what I'm saying is there was a part of me that's like, okay, so we take care of him for a decade, then I move on. But this kid keeps living. So what does that look like? Long-term caregiving with very few resources and very few supportive systems, because this is a female-dominated arena.
Can I say this before I forget it real quick?
Yeah.
And I learned this from my last client. His mother told me, when someone loses a child, they mourn and then they move on with their life. But when you have a special needs child, whatever, rare disease, autism, whatever it is, you mourn your child every day.
Oh God.
There's no end game where you just, wait for the final one. It's every day you mourn the possibility of who they could have been, what they could have done. Yeah. And until you've lived it and experienced it, you really don't know what I'm saying right now. Mm-hmm. And to be able to trudge through that. Yeah. It produces some pretty amazing people.
I forget what they call that. I was in a couple of groups about that. The grieving process while alive is a term. Let's see.
And it's draining. Again, emotionally draining.
Let's see. Ambiguous grief. That's another great one, but that's a different one. What is the grief called while somebody's still ambiguous? I mean, that's not the one
I've never heard that.
This is a term that was coined by Paula Boss, and this is according to Google, okay? So we're not cheating.
I have not met Google.
What, you think, what?
I have not met Google.
Oh, he's right here in front of you, say hi. So this is someone who says that you grieve somebody who's still alive, and this feels really confusing sometimes. And if you've never been through it, and this is the mourning the loss of a loved one who's still alive but has changed in some way. Anticipatory grief is another one. It's a constant grief. You know, you're always thinking about what you said, and I can relate to that. I don't know about your previous client. My son is, you know, he was slaughtered for death. And while I understand that the data that these doctors didn't know, you know, they didn't know anything. It's so new, this research for Batten disease. It's less than 20 years old. Even though it was founded much longer than that, it's the research is very limited, right? And so the only statistics they had were in these other variants, because there's 14 variants of Batten disease, and they had the most data from CNL 1, 2, 3, and 6, where these children were born with it and they were dead before their 10th birthday, or they were dead before their 15th birthday.
Very young with this disease.
Right. And
Very young.
it's an extremely horrible life, and it's a really bad death. My kid's on CNL 8, and I gotta say, you know, we're having a bitchin' life.
He's 21 years old. Today
Yeah.
we went jacuzziing.
Yeah, I went to the jacuzzi today. And that's the thing, you know, I treat Sebastian not like he's dying, but just like any other day. It's like, what are we doing today? You know, we're on break and we're bored. 3 weeks is too long. You know, we got to find stuff to do. And in Southern California, there's no rain, there's no snow, but there is a hot tub. And Steve likes the hot tub, so they all went in the hot tub today. Yeah. And I went to my martial arts class. Yeah. But what I'm trying to tell you is that in the whole essence of what it is that we are dealing with is the lack, as men, the lack of targeted resources, right? Because these organizations exist for the women primarily. So when a man like me starts Project Sebastian for, you know, supporting rare disease families or raising funds for clinical trials, a lot of people look at me like, well, that's weird. Why is the guy? Where's the mother? That's always the next question. Where's the mom?
When you go to a support group, let's say 10, 20 years ago, men would be maybe sprinkled throughout the group, but mostly women.
Right.
And now, what do you see?
I don't see as many, but I see more. And here's the problem that I see. I have started support groups. I've created them. I'm still involved in a few of them. It's like the messaging for in those mixed groups is like everybody is drawn towards the woman because that's mom, whereas the man is just sitting there and nobody connects with the man. And it's really hard for me to understand. It's like he created that child too with that lady, and so it's like, why does he not get the messaging? Why doesn't he get the, hey, are you going to be okay? Let's go grab some coffee. You know, it's different. It's like the men are not ostracized, but they're just not connecting. And so I made it my challenge to connect other men. And here we are. We created the show to connect with other men. You know, we're not invisible. We're here. We're doing it better than some of the moms. Yeah, you heard what I said. Some of the moms don't stay. No, some of them don't. Some of them get remarried, they bounce out, or they.
Sometimes it's too much for them.
Yeah.
And so dad is left holding the ball.
Yeah. And it's usually the other way around. Dad's, you know, say, see ya.
Yeah, it's,
You know, and so I get maybe that's the stigma, like we're no good.
well, here's you and me are both two examples of men who embrace this.
Stayed
Yeah.
and did it. So I just want to basically tell you that
You're not alone.
yeah, we're not. Are we alone?
No.
Hey, high five.
I'm too old to high five.
Okay, bitchin'. God. Should call the
My
mortuary.
arm.
Call the mortuary to get your plot ready. My God. If you need some Tylenol, maybe your Geritol is kicking in. So these are the things I want to let you know. I want you to see us because I see you. And I guarantee you that there are men out there that are struggling in their relationships with their caregiving because they're not given a fair shot. And I don't know what the fair shot should be, but you know what? We can do it. Because when we decide to do something as men, we actually do it.
If you're in that situation, let us know. And let us know how you're handling it. Let us know what you think would be better or would work better for you.
Email us, put it in the chat.
Educate us.
Yeah, let us know because I can tell you my story. He can tell you his story. We want to hear your story. We want to know how we can support you. You know, stress is outstanding, isn't it?
Well, here's the thing. We're supposed to eat stress like candy, apparently.
Oh.
You know, we're supposed to be able to handle this. We're supposed to be able to have all the answers. But here's the bottom line with real caretaking. There's no way to do it and look good doing it. It gets real.
Yeah.
Sometimes it gets very ugly.
Yeah.
It's not pretty. It can at times not be pretty at all. And then at other times it can be the most rewarding thing you've ever done in your life. But we have to be here for all of it.
Well, Steve said it best. He's talking about that stress that's convoluted by the stress, right? The emotional burden of caregiving.
I need to talk to people. If I keep too much in, it's like poison and it has to come out. I need to be able to lean on someone.
As a matter of fact, we go to my new calendar. I have a therapy appointment on the 15th, Miss Karen.
Now, is it true they charge you twice as much because of the issues?
Well, I'm just, I'm
kidding.
I'm paying this woman so much, she's going to get a second house.
But the bottom line is remain teachable, always be open to learning something new. Understand you cannot do it alone.
Well, you got to ask for help and you got to take your breaks.
Yeah, you got to find a pace that works for you.
Because your patient may not be the most compliant. They may not be able to speak. They may not be able to walk. You don't understand what they want. They don't know how to communicate. And it can be very frustrating. So you're going to have to find a way to take a break. We worked out a system here. I think it's working pretty good. One caregiver comes in the morning, Steve comes in the night, and they kind of do this. They do high five. And then
the ship's passing in the night.
They just, tag you're in. And sometimes there's an overlap.
And this allows the family to relax a little bit. And just, you have to understand what relax means. Sometimes that means just watching your show for a half hour or an hour. It means sometimes just eating a meal and knowing you don't have to run.
I watch the Housewives.
Which one?
All of them.
This one. Now on TV or just as you walk around the neighborhood?
If you go around this neighborhood, you don't need a TV. But and the food, would you say have a meal? No,
just being able to run out and go through a drive-through. Just knowing you're not going to be pulled back.
Just have a nice sit-down meal. Stop eating that junk. That's creating more stress. Stop snacking. Stop doing the Cokes and the chips and the crap. And get like a steak or
I gave up Cokes like 2 hours ago.
Well, that's great.
It's hard. It's not easy.
You're doing good, buddy. You can do it. It's only 6:30.
I'll make it. Told someone I'm not going to do Coke for 70, or soda for 72 hours.
Oh my God. It starts today.
Because they're doing that. And I want to support them. And what's it going to cost me?
So is it Coca-Cola?
I'm uncomfortable with this.
Is it all just Coca-Cola, the brand, or just all soda?
All caffeinated soda, which seems to be my weakness. I like the bubbly. I don't drink coffee. I prefer my caffeine cold.
I've always said I was allergic to the bubbles.
I wish I was allergic. Well, maybe I am allergic to the bubbles. That's why I'm hooked on them.
I'm sorry. I'm addicted to the bubbles. That makes more sense. All right. So how do we balance all this, Steve? How do we find a way to say, screw society. We're stepping into these roles and we don't care what you think about us. How do you like that? And then we cause a bunch of fights and we get into arguments. Is that good?
Probably not.
Well, I wanted to find a way to justify my anger. Because I don't like being in this situation. I don't like being a caregiver all the time. I love being a dad, but as I watch my son, I get really sad, and we're mourning, right? We're still mourning, and I don't want this life for him. But then I have to realize that this is where I'm supposed to be.
You know what anger is? Maybe anger is just the commitment to being right.
Oh, I'm right all the time.
And that's the problem. So maybe anger shows me where I need to look at something and really maybe examine it and see where I can tweak it or it needs to change, or maybe even let it go altogether.
Well, I don't know. How are you gonna let go? You're in it. You're in it all day long, every day, forever.
What if I can see it differently? What if I can perceive it differently?
Well, well,
Get those proverbial new pair of glasses, as they say.
that's a bright light. I'm so sorry, YouTubers. Let me just turn.
Hang on, we're all going to get a tan together.
Wow, that was a lot. Okay, sorry. I was taught in my therapy, because I was on my way to becoming a counselor. I had to take a back seat because of his needs. Yeah, I'm a little bit,
Aren't you one credit away from being somebody?
with a title,
With it,
with a title,
everyone's one credit away.
like one of these placards that says like Chris Falona, and then it has little letters and stuff.
Got the letters, got the little letters.
Must be important. But I felt, I don't know what it was. It was almost like I felt it was going to be okay that I just stopped that and was able to be here more for him, because he was really bad that year. That was a year ago where Sebastian he was just in the toilet, literally and figuratively. He was, maybe 90 pounds, 95 pounds. It was just really bad. He was dying, and I just thought it was it. They were right. They were right. They were right. It took longer. But they were wrong, because we made some changes and we found a new treatment with the EES systems. If you don't know that, just Google that. Energy enhancement systems, where you sit there in a room full of scalar wave technology, and healing begins just by being present. You were there today, Steve. How'd it go?
Yes, we did 2 hours, and he walked in exhausted. He had nothing, not even enough to really smile or laugh. That's how low his energy was. And then by the time we were done, I had him laughing. So how do you argue with that result?
That's a great result. I just did a review on that room, actually. And I think that everyone that can visit those rooms, because they're all over the United States. If you can find someone to give you a couple of freebies and you can introduce yourself to the EE systems, I think it will just basically change your perspective on alternative medicine and healing.
Well, educate yourself, and don't stop at that. Look at other things too. Don't wait for someone to knock on your door with a solution. You have to, especially being a caregiver, if you're a family member, someone close to you, whatever it is, you have to educate yourself. And especially when you found out your son had Batten's disease, how long was it before you knew more than the people you were talking to that were the supposedly experts in that field? And that's what most parents do.
I mean, we were part of that whole don't self-diagnose, don't doctor Google, don't do all that stuff. We did everything we were told not to do.
You have to.
But we had to, because they weren't really talking to us.
Right. And it's not
that they don't know, it's that they can't tell you these things, because then they'll terrify you. So
they have a criteria they fall under, where they can't just talk to you one-on-one and tell you everything. And you have to you have to educate yourself.
Manipulation.
They have an agenda. They have a
fear mongering.
Right. And if they're looking for a pill to fix it, but they're not, the most doctors
My
today,
experience, guys, I'm still harboring resentment.
there are some wonderful doctors.
Yeah.
But for the most part, find one that tells you about alternative medicine, and I'll be very surprised.
Yeah.
Find me someone that, goes natural. And
it's taken me almost a decade to actually find those people. It's insane.
they're out there, but you have to,
Yeah.
you have to look for them. You have to pay a price for this knowledge and this information, and it's going to cost you your time, and it's going to cost you your effort, and it's worth it.
You're gonna spend some money, but I mean, it's like, why not have alternative medicine that's readily available today? Then you have to go and wait for the doctor to get a prescription to have him talk you out of it.
Just to find out it's going to make things worse. You've had that happen too with medication.
Yeah, medication is sometimes not the best option, because it can cause a tremendous amount of side effects, causing your client, your patient, or your loved one to further fall down the scale. So I agree with Steve. I mean, if you I'm not canceling Western medicine. I mean, I'm gonna go if I need a stitch or you gotta put my arm back on, right?
It's good for emergency medicine,
Yeah, but I don't think for healthcare,
for long-term healing,
I mean,
healthcare.
yeah.
Putting the body back in alignment and harmony.
yeah.
Alternative for me seems to be what works.
I-
But again, I'm not a doctor.
I just don't want to, I guess, have that whole, like, what is it called? Everything is gonna be supported by a pill, right? I don't wanna have, oh, look at that, it's a nice warm light. Hi. Does Steve look good? Uh-oh. Somebody's walking up the walk. Let's see if the dog barks.
Is this the point where we get all distracted, Chris?
Yeah,
Do you think?
it's Jessica
Hello, Jessica.
Rivas. No dog barking.
So back to what you're talking about with the pills, the human body is.
Well, I don't want to just be told, oh, take a pill, it's over, it's done, it's fixed.
Right, which.
Lies.
Name one pill that does that.
I don't know. You have to take it all the time for the rest of your life.
So the body is an organic, what's the way I could put this, like an organic machine. And then you put in stuff that's synthetic.
Yeah,
How can it cooperate with what's already going on in here?
it's gotta be a struggle. That's
So,
why.
Maybe temporarily,
Well,
that might get you through,
yeah, maybe to just jumpstart what we need.
but long-term,
Yeah.
if you could find something that works, then our hats off to you.
I hope if you're listening, you'll take away a few different things from this show today. Male caregiving is right in front of you. If you ask a man to help, they will. If you ask a man to change their jobs, they probably might, depending on if it's their son. I mean, I did. You will find that a lot of these people in this space don't fit the current stereotypical mold that has been plagued for 50, 60 years. I think that when you have to show up, I'd say that more than half the men will show up, and they will be
I'd like to think so.
ready to handle
And willing.
things that are just baffling to everything. It's
And there's no book to read to show you how to do this.
I'm gonna write a book.
What there is there's bits and pieces of information spread out through everything.
Well, everybody has their own experience. Can you imagine if
That's what you want, is the experience.
every male caregivers just wrote a book and everybody wrote like a little excerpt about what they went through? That thing would be like Encyclopedia Britannica. Yeah.
Be a lot of good experience in that.
You guys know what that is? No, of course you're not. Because I'm dating myself.
Before Google, there was the Britannica.
Encyclopedia Britannica.
And people would sell these door to door. They would sell a complete encyclopedia sets. And if you were well-to-do, you had A through Z.
Oh, and it was on display in your house prominently in your
Point of pride.
library.
Yeah.
That's right.
Point of pride.
Jessica, do you remember Encyclopedia Britannica? You were born in 1988. She's like shaking her head like, what's that?
Encyclopedias?
Encyclopedia?
That's not my jam.
It's
Oh, you see, that's not my jam.
it's like
It's Google and paper.
it's like a 3 or 4 foot long dictionary with every topic.
It's just Google on paper.
That's it. Yeah.
I'm not book smart. Let's put it that way.
All right, so she's not book smart. She doesn't understand Encyclopedia Britannica. But that's
But I understand.
that's what was written. I mean,
If you want to know about Greenland, you pulled out the G, you opened up your encyclopedia.
yeah,
And
or
there
French
was everything.
Guyana. I had to write a report on French Guyana. That was right out of the Encyclopedia Britannica, word for word, and I got caught for plagiarism.
And now we know that all that information, a lot of it was,
Lies.
propaganda.
God.
It's another show, another topic.
Don't get me started. But listen, I just wanted to just read you an excerpt. This is from ChatGTP. Despite these challenges, the increasing visibility of all male caregivers presents an opportunity for societal change. I like that. So you were talking about societal change. You were talking about change earlier in the program and how can we change? And you said, get the experience so you are changing, right?
Yeah.
But a lot of us don't do it because why? We're afraid because it's not manly. right?
Or you feel overwhelmed because it's so far out of your wheelhouse.
Yeah.
You've never even considered something like this.
And you just run because you just don't want to do it. That's the epitome of not being a man. You're a scaredy cat. Shame on you, all y'all, men. You should have stayed. You're missing out. I'm having a better time. Oh my God. I'm so sorry. Did you hear that?
That's why I gave up soda.
Well,
Not for that reason.
it's another vice that I'm gonna have to give up. But
So what were you reading?
you know, just summed it up. You know, it's like when I was talking about, you know, what's grief, you know, about that, and you know, so to sum it up, I think that if we just say, hey, being a male caregiver is not what it was on paper, or being a male nurse is not what it once was. It is manly. It is a new position of manhood. You know, you will definitely get to keep your man card if you become a nurse or a male caregiver, because I challenge you, outside of being on an oil field, to find a job that's, you know, like this job is hard.
If you're looking for a job where you're exhausted, you're little sleep to none maybe.
Yeah.
You haven't had any time for yourself in a while.
Yeah.
If you enjoy torturing yourself, this might be for you.
Yeah.
But you'll find a balance in it, and you'll find a way to handle what overwhelms you in the beginning. All of a sudden, you'll be able to handle.
Wow.
And that's the process. It's like I would tell my kids, what takes more energy, taking the trash out or thinking about taking the trash out, making excuses about taking the trash out? Which one takes up more energy?
You do it. You
So-
do it. You do it. You do it.
So we as caregivers realize that it's about the action.
We have to do it. We must do it.
No commentary up here. No,
We just
we
do
just
it.
do it.
We just do it.
There's a mess, we clean it.
And we're not asking for kudos, and we're not telling you to give us like a little piece of candy as a reward. We just do it because no one else will.
We're it.
That's it.
The buck stops here.
Wait, there are a lot of female caregivers. We're not, you know.
Oh, no.
Yeah, they're great
Who
too.
do you think we're learning from? They've got more of the experience.
Meaning that we're here now. We're ready. You know, we've been willing and ready to work, and I've been working. He's been working in it. So you know, you can just take all your obstacles and your all of your excuses, just flush them down the toilet, man. You know, you are your own worst enemy, and I got to tell you, everything that is waiting for you is on the other side of fear. So just jump on over that fence, man, and join us. Join the male caregivers.
We'll help you however we can.
Always.
If you come across a situation you think is too much, who do you talk to? And if you don't have anyone, fire us off an email. What's our email address?
Right. That email address is men@raregivers.global. That's Gmail. So that's men@raregivers.global. So that's a capital M and a capital R. Okay. And it's plural. So it's raregivers.global. Men@raregivers.global. Okay. And Steve brought up a good point at the end of the show. I mean, if you're frustrated and you're tired and you're burnt out, you got to talk to somebody, whether it's your friend, your family,
Or us.
therapists, or us. You know, we're kind of like,
We might give you a way to look at it you never thought of before.
we're
And
kind of like a
we might
counseling
make you
group.
laugh. Who knows?
Well, listen, you got to have fun. I have a blast doing my job here. I make it like anything else in this planet. I just try to have a good time, which I have a good day.
Now, someone might walk in and see how the interactions are and go, this is a nut house. But which it's because you don't understand yet
Yeah.
the dynamic and what's happening. And it's just another language we have to learn.
I was talking to a parent last night, and she was yelling on the phone with me at her husband because her disabled son was not going to bed, and the little dude had tricked the father into giving him some more food.
Nice.
And with this condition, he doesn't go to sleep if he has food. He's got to go to the bathroom, and it's a whole rig of a dude, you know. So I said, "Do you feel better?" She said, "I'll feel better when he's in effing bed." He's got school tomorrow.
And the families of people with rare disease and disabilities are some of the most realist,
Oh, yeah.
rawest,
Yeah, we're not. fake.
wonderfulest people you'll ever meet in your life. They
And
got no airs about them. They got
Yeah.
nothing to prove. They got no one to impress.
You know, there's
They're
no-
they're
no
they're
shame.
living. They're alive to this life. They're not, just putting on a show or
No
doing what's
shame,
expected.
no shame in crying on the job. No shame in wiping your hand full of poop. Getting thrown up on, PICC line bursts, blood everywhere.
And some of the worst things that'll happen will be the funniest things as you look back later on.
Oh my
At the
God.
time, not so funny, but
Yeah, scary stuff.
yeah.
Like last night.
What happened?
So let me tell you about my story. I got 6 minutes. So
Talk slow.
So in my situation, I walk Sebastian, not in the wheelchair, but I make him work. He's got to do his job. He's got to take some steps. Got to get his steps in, man.
This
See,
is so the muscles don't atrophy.
Right.
It helps him,
Yeah.
even though he's maybe resisting it.
it's always like he's walking like this, just trying to do his job. And so I put him on the toilet. And so I always just, give him his time, give him his respect, give him his space. And then I'll call out from here, "Hey, are you done pooping yet?" And he'll go, "Yes." So I go in there, just like any other day. I say, "You're gonna lean forward so I can wipe your butt," right? And so he forgets to put his hands down, and he goes right down on his face.
Over.
And I had removed the shower doors, but
It's like doing a somersault off the toilet.
I removed the shower doors right a while ago, so we could have more space because he was falling into the shower door, and I don't need a bunch of glass and cutting him up. So can you guess what he fell on?
What do you follow?
On the track that holds the doors, and it's like that, and it's very thin. And so Sebastian over the years has more scar tissue
Nice collection he's got.
than most MMA fighters. So if you just basically do this, there's a blood, there's spurting and stuff like that. So he didn't go hard, but all of his weight went through that rail and cut his eye wide open.
Not his eye, right above
It
it.
was right above. With blood was in the eye. It was fantastic.
Now you're being dramatic.
Not being telling you a story, Steve. My story. And so it's like
Blood everywhere, squirting out.
well, not squirting, but
Bodies
I
flying
didn't-
all over the
the
place.
funny part was I didn't know it because it had coagulated. But the minute I laid him back down in the bed, it had popped open because his
Oh.
skin went like that, and it was just drilling. It's like, what's that in my eye? I was like,
The poor little guy. He's
I
such a good
just started
sport.
to laugh, and I was like, again, dang it, you got hit in the face.
And he loves Harry Potter, and he's always pointing to his forehead
Well,
where Harry Potter has a scar,
because he got a lot of scars.
and he's doing his best to get a Harry Potter
Yeah.
scar.
So for me, I wasn't freaked out. All I did was spray a bunch of hydrogen peroxide in the wound, and I got this wound tape, and he was done. Now he looks great.
Yeah, it looks cool actually.
So that for me was that's like every month. That's like a deal. Like I don't. It's like breathing for me.
Expect the unexpected.
I mean-
Be prepared for the worst.
I know a lot of people would go, "Oh my God, call the ambulance! Oh, they're gonna get stitches. We're gonna get the plastics out here. Get his face fixed." Ah! You're like, just put some glue in there and shut up.
There is a time to call 911, but not for this.
Oh, come on. 911 is when he was choking and he couldn't breathe and I couldn't get it out. Thank God we did because there was a surgery that was needed. That's another story.
I had to call 911 when my client had a seizure and snapped his jaw in both
Yeah.
places, and it was just hanging there.
Lovely.
That's when you call 911.
Didn't the cops think that you did it?
The fireman looked at me like, something happened. It was a horrible feeling.
That's not a seizure.
Yeah, it's like, what'd you do, But that was awful.
Again, male stigmatas, right? Jeez, we just can't get a break, bro.
But we just keep putting one foot in front of the other. We keep learning and doing the best we can, and we take care
Do you know that
of
song?
our people.
Do you know that song?
What's that?
That's from Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, the claymation.
One foot in front of the other?
Dun, 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 dun. Just put one foot in front of the other.
And soon you'll be walking across the floor. I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah.
Been watching that all December.
Yeah. Thank God it's January and we're done with that. All right. I'm about done with this. You about done?
I am.
All right. Well, that's enough out of me. Thank you for watching A Man's Journey on the Raregivers Global Network. I'm Chris Filona.
I'm secondhand Steve, and remember, be gentle with yourself.
Oh, be gentle with yourself. Oh, and don't forget to get some sleep tonight. All right.